Okay, when we go for like attribute value, how do we do is we'll have to find any element. Okay, once you find that element, then you will have a get attribute method. Okay, and you need to pass the attribute that will get the attribute value. We'll just see like how we can do that. Okay, this is your batch 15. Here we are practicing, right? So I'll create one class stating attribute value. Attribute value. Okay, so public static void main. I have one class. Okay, so for login, so many things it is like common, right? You guys know it. We have seen in previous classes also, right? It is common. So I'll just paste it. This remains like throughout your Selenium, this codes remain same. These 4 lines. And when once you do that, like I'm logging into that, like finding an element and doing a send keys and clicking on the submit button. This much remains the same how we saw in our previous class, right? So once I log in, I'm in home page now. I'm in this home page, right? Just a second. Okay, so I'll just enter this. Okay, and I'll just give okay. So once I do this, I have this, right? I'll just find that element. How do I do? I'll inspect this. Okay, I know this. I'll find this element first. If I want to get the attribute of this, what do I do? First, I need to find element. So how I'll find element? I'll tell my driver dot find element, right? Okay, find element by dot ID. I'll just pass ID. What was my ID? Login was my ID, right? I'll just give here. Okay, I have given it here. So what I'll have to do? Okay, it will return driver.find element. What will it return? It will return web element, right? Web element. Web element. I'll return web element that I'll store it in one element, that is element I have stored it. Okay, just write the variable always in small letter. I have stored. Now, what I want to do, I want to, in this element, I want the attribute of login. Okay, so how do I do? So I have this element, right? Which was that element? That is LE, because I have stored it in this variable, right? Dot get attribute, right? I need to pass a string. So which is the attribute I want? I want this ID's attribute value. Okay, so I'll pass a ID. Okay, I'll pass a ID. So this will accept in string. So string always will be in double quote. Okay, done. So what it will return on get attribute? It will return string, right? So I'll store it in one string variable. String attribute ID attribute, right? Because I was looking for ID attribute and I will store it in one variable. I've stored it in this variable. Then I want to see what was that attribute of ID value. I'll just print that system.out println the ID attribute value is okay. Attribute ID attribute value. Okay, now I have found for this. Next, href attribute value I want to find out. So how do I do? Same thing again. You can use le dot get attribute of I'll give whatever is there in the left side. No, I'll pass that. Okay, I have found that. Then what it will return, get attribute, it will return a string, right? So I'll store it in string. String href. Okay, I'll print this also. So I show you system.out.println. The href attribute value is this thing. Okay, now just I'll run and see if it works. Okay, so when you do system.set property, I think you guys have to do this thing first because it is yours is latest version. Just run and see now. Okay, it is launching a browser, it is maximizing, then it is going to the particular spice chat URL. Okay, it launched, then it went to the URL, then it is maximizing. It is entering user ID and password. Then once it logs in, for logout button, I have for that element, I have found the attribute value is login, right? ID's attribute value is login. href attribute value is this one, right? This is how it works.